Good morning and welcome on board. This is This Morning on ITV right here in our Lagos studio. If you're just joining us, my name is Nwoluwapo Stevens. And now today we are taking our attention to talk about World Mental Health Day, which was observed last Thursday on the 10th of October, and it happens every single year. So the World Mental Health Day is celebrated every year on the 10th of October. Now this day is about coming together to talk about mental health and show you that mental health truly matters. Now talking about our mental health can help us cope better with life ups and downs, especially right here in Nigeria with all of the things we're experiencing at the moment. So this year's theme set by the World Federation of Mental Health is Workplace Mental Health. In other words, it is time to prioritize mental health at work. And now the theme highlights the importance of addressing mental health and well-being in the workplace for the benefit of the people, organizations, and even communities. Now, the World Health Organization estimates that a whopping 20% of Nigerians, or around 40 million people, are affected by mental illness. I feel like I say this again. According to data from the World Health Organization, it estimates that a whopping 20% of Nigerians, or around 40 million people, are affected by mental illness at the moment. And now you would agree with me that this is really quite a lot. Well, joining me to talk some more regarding the state of your mind and the state of the mental health, especially here in Nigeria, is a registered nurse, Paul Ige. A pleasure having you this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So how are you doing today?
Yeah, it's been a great day. Thank you.
Interestingly, I always love to ask how you're doing because living right now in Nigeria is a lot. But let's talk about mental health. How important is it to have conversations like this? And now I want you to take us through the World Mental Health Day and its importance of celebrating it.
Yeah, mental health is the key. It's key to every individual. And I really appreciate the fact that on other occasions that World Health Organization celebrates, they deem it fit to ensure that the populace, the masses, are well educated on the menace, because it's really a menace, the issue surrounding the mind, the issue surrounding the mental health. Okay, so it is a key as regard every other aspect of human life, be it your work, be it your home, be it your career, and every other things that you engage. The state of your mind is a core to them all.
Now, interestingly, this year's theme is tagged Work Mental Health Day at Work. Can you talk about that and the importance of streamlining it down to the work environment?
Now, the issue of mental health at work, many people really do not give cognizance to it. And then it's high time that they do, because it has a lot to do with the individual, the employer, the other workers, other people who are working with you, and even the society as a whole. Okay, so now the mental health as regard your work, and now involves stress, managing burnout, coping strategies that can actually enhance efficiency. So you can put in your best. You can bring out your best when you have a mental health that is stable. And the reverse is going to be the case when there is a poor mental health. But I would love to tell us that we should understand that mental health, the issue of mental health, according to World Health Organization, is a continuum. Okay, so you can be shifting, and not necessarily until when you enter into mental illness, or what we tag mental disorder. Okay, you can shift from what we call poor mental health, and so that means you can actually develop a good mental health that can enhance and prevent you from landing into mental health illness.
Beautiful. So we have good mental health,
Yes,
and we have
we do.
bad mental
Exactly.
health. Interesting. Let's talk about some of the signs and symptoms person should look out for, especially as a worker working in an organization, because this year's theme is tagged mental health at work.
There are some signs and symptoms that you need to look out for. Okay, now I will put it on a burnout. Now, burnout will not happen at once. It's progressive. All right, so, and it will start from issues that has to do with the emotion of that individual. Okay, so you can start seeing things like agitation when a worker is being agitated at work. When there is loss of concentration, there could be confusion. Now, there could be lack of, when you're lacking the ability to stay at a job or to stay at a task and to start that task and complete it. Those are signs of, mental health at work. Not only that, you can start having issue of withdrawal syndrome. People can start withdrawing from task, and you can have issues surrounding other colleagues. There could be hitting, excessive hitting.
When you say hitting, do you mean punching?
No, hitting.
Hitting.
Yeah.
Okay, hitting.
So an individual you can see a change. Is it that the person is no longer hitting as he or she used to, or probably he start hitting excessively.
What about the issue of bullying at workplace?
Oh,
because
that's violence.
interestingly, we see that happens, and it shouldn't even be in the first place. Would that also affect someone's state of the mind in an organization?
Yes, it will. Because the issue of bullying, violence, we call it workplace violence. And it might actually not be physical. You can actually abuse, or you can actually violated the rights of an individual emotionally. It could even be through speech. All right, so the colleagues, the managers of everyone working should ensure what we call safe environment. We call it therapeutic environment. A therapeutic environment is a safe environment for that individual to effectively work. So as a worker, you should enjoy a safe environment where no one threatens you, where no one bullies you, and where there is love and acceptance. Where there is lack of love and acceptance, probably there is rejection and all, that individual can break down. Now, let me quickly tell us that there is what we call threshold. So there is a threshold for A to bear a stress or a stressor, and B can break down so easily. Okay, so you must understand your limits as regard that. So for some other people, they can easily break down. Maybe mere just correcting them in a very harsh way or using a verbal abuse, others might still be able to bear it. So everyone, from manager to co-workers, you must take cognizance of the mental health or the state of mind of those you are working with.
Now let's talk about the managers and the organization, most importantly, and how important it is for them to ensure that they understand every single person they are working with. So in other words, what is the role of the manager to manage stress? Because you said something regarding stress, regarding burning out at work, regarding anxiety and all. And there's also another conversation regarding going on leave, going on rest. How important is that? Because I know in some organization it takes the grace of God for a worker to actually apply for leave and then gets it. So what role is the organization and also the manager in all of this?
All right, so there's a standard that every work environment should operate with. Okay, so the managers, they are saddled with responsibility of having a policy. So there should be a standardized policy. The policy should address when an individual should break off from work. So every worker is entitled to annual leave. All right, but of course, like we do have it, it differs from organization to another organization. So, but every manager should ensure that their workers, they are not overworking them. In fact, it will interest you to know that if you overwork a worker, you can cause a mental disorder, illness. If you underwork that individual, you can also affect their mental health.
Do you think managers are aware of all of this?
And that is why a place of education, orientating them, and in fact public awareness. There should even be a training. Yeah, a training should be organized on regular basis for managers, recognizing all the signs of burnout. In fact, the workers should also be accessible to mental health specialists. You can just feel like, okay, maybe the pressure that you are having is beyond what you can bear, meaning stressor. At every one point in one's life, we would encounter stress and stressors, but the ability to cope, what we call coping mechanism, diverse. But you must understand when to withdraw. And then that is why it's also key for the workers to also learn to open up to their managers. You can always report and speak to them and talk to them. Please, I will need a break. Please, I think I need to withdraw. Because you will not be able to put in your best at that moment. And there should be a policy for the worker to go on break, go on leave, go on recess, and the working environment should also be very therapeutic. It must not be harsh.
Absolutely. I mean, on a lighter note, even our president is currently on his annual vacation. So who are you not to? And we also see our VP jetting out of the country. So right now, our president and the VP, they're not in Nigeria at this point. Now let's bring it down to Nigeria. We saw something that happened yesterday, sadly, in Jigawa State, where we saw a petrol tanker falling and Nigerians going to scoop fuel. And it begs the question of what really is going on, because this is not the first time it's happening. This is not the second time. Hopefully it should be the last. And of course, you're aware that when you go scoop fuel, there's every tendency that you might be burnt or you might die along that line. So now, would it be right for us to say that persons who engage in this act are mentally derailed, or you have a bit of mental illness or something?
Mental health, the issue around surrounding mental health is complex and core, but we are not taking so vital key as regard it. Every one of us, we have a lot to do. Do you know that there could be a state at which that individual is not able to make a right decision all because of poor socio-economic status? So even in the face of danger, just like we had, the issue that happened in Jigawa, they will still go ahead and scoop for, not even minding what is going to happen to them. Their mind is clogged, so they are not in their right frame of mind. It's not until when someone pull out clothes, and walk naked on the street that you say, okay, that we should now take care. That's a mental issue. No. And that's why I told us that it's a continuum, all right, from a poor mental health to a very sound one. So you can be drifting. It could even be in thought, just like I said, lack of concentration, maybe at a work. It's a key for you to note that you need to take care of your mental health. It's not until when you break down with depression, or you break down with all this bipolar affective disorder, or maybe you start having what we call suicide ideation. It starts from being able to make decision.
So if you find it difficult trying to make a decision, that's a problem.
It's a problem.
Really? But then again, they say indecisiveness is a decision on its own. So how do you marry both of them?
Okay, yeah, but of course, you must be able to draw a line. When your inability to make a decision is now turning back on you, or those. Now, please, quickly, let's take a look at how World Health Organization give us a picture of mental health. Okay, so mental health is a state. So it's a state of mental well-being. Okay, so it involves your emotion, it involves your behavior, and it involves your social well-being. Okay, so even when I'm not making a decision, okay, when I had lack, when I have indecisive, when I became indecisive as regard the situation, and it's affecting me, affecting someone around me, my family, or affecting the populace, that's a sign of concern.
Okay.
So you must be able to draw a line between just okay, I'm not just deciding on this issue, as simple as that, and not making a decision in critical matters that can pose threats to others.
You said something regarding depression.
Yes.
Suicide,
Yeah.
suicidal thoughts. And interestingly, we live in the part of the world where when someone comes out to say, oh, she is depressed or he is depressed, there's this kind of way Nigerians tend to react. Let's talk about stigmatization regarding mental health, especially in Nigeria.
Oh, yeah. This is a very important aspect. And I know that a lot of advocacy is been ongoing from World Health Organization, CDC, and of course NCDC, like we have in our own very country. But we still need to do more. You know, there are a lot of stigma, and in fact, the stigma for those who are having mental health challenges, I decided to put it that way because not everybody break down with, you know, depression and all that. Okay, but whosoever, and that is actually why we are having a lot of issues dealing with mental health illnesses. People don't want to come out because they are afraid that they will be stigmatized. They will call them by name. If I remember very well that during some of our clinical experience at neuropsychiatry hospital at Haro, Abeokuta, you know, they believe that people outside had was that anybody inside that place is mentally, you know, unhealthy. And there are people that they even tie people, that they tie them with a tree, that they tie them to tree, they strain, you know, and all that. Oh no! And that is, I know that, and I love that thought that the federal government did that time. So they bring in people to even assess other medical health that has nothing to do with mental health inside neuropsychiatry hospital at Aro, just to ensure that the stigma is reducing. So we have a lot to do. They must not be stigmatized. If you're having any challenges as regard, depression is very, very, very dangerous because you might not really know until they start having suicidal thoughts. And at that point, it has turned to what we call psychiatric emergency. That individual can go at any time.
And it's really funny how the mind works. Yeah. And it's so interesting how powerful the mind is, that if you don't control it and you allow it to control you, it could just span out to something else. It brings me to some myth.
Okay.
Let's talk about the myth here in Nigeria. Sometimes when persons say, okay, I'm going through this or you're going through that, and then people start saying, oh, the village people and all of that. Can we begin to highlight some of those myths and how really it's not true?
Okay. There are quite a number of myths as regard mental disorder and illnesses, and many people, just like you rightly stated, you know, once you come out to tell them maybe you have a challenge as regard, you know, your mental health, they believe they've come from the village, they are following you, that, you know, it must be a spirit and all that, you know. No. So we should make it very clear to us that the issue of mental health illnesses it's psychological. It's psychological. It has to do with the mind. Just like you said, how the mind works is so complex. So there must be acceptance for them. And people must be able to verbalize themselves, even when they are going through a lot, before it gets complicated. Now, another myth is the fact that there's no treatment. Oh, no, they believe, unlike, okay, if there is, if you are suffering from hypertension, there are antihypertensives and all. I am here to tell everyone that they are going through one or any other challenges as regard your mental health, there are treatments. And in fact, basically the treatments are not necessarily drugs. Sometimes, you know, just have to undergo what we call psychotherapy, just engage, add some section of what we call, CBT, and an engagement with a psychologist and some other specialty in the field, and you'll be good. In fact, management could actually still go down to probably just telling you how to cope with your stress and your work life. Okay, so there is a treatment.
Speaking about treatments, you said something regarding going through a lot. And it just reminded me of how a lot of Nigerians right now, especially on social media, would say, right now we're going through a lot in this country. In fact, living in Nigeria alone, it's big work and work on its own. So how can one cope with the economic realities and also trying to ensure that you're having a sane mind and your mindset is pretty much in the right state of mind, trying to navigate all of life challenges?
All right. I will start, this by telling us that you are very important. You are very important. As an individual, you must accept yourself. It all starts from you. Okay, because now we are in a world that we are going through a lot. And it's not only peculiar to this country.
Right.
The issue is that the challenges here might actually just be different from what they are happening in the Western world. But first, you must accept yourself. You must learn your limits. This is very key.
So you must understand who you are.
You must understand who you are. First, understand who you are and accept. Accept yourself. That self-love will put you on a state of a sound self-esteem. Because if you suffer a low self-esteem, you are predisposed to mental illness. Even in this situation, the issue of socio-economic status of many Nigerians is a key. A lot of people are going through, tough times. Okay, so you must accept yourself. Number 2, which is very key, you must also understand the strength around you. We call it in psychiatry, in the mental health, we call it support system. Support system is very key. They are blessing to you, your spouse, your friend, trusted friend. So you must learn to accept them and be free with them. See, no one can go through life alone. Before you know it, we will all break down due to the stress and the stressor that we go on in this part of the world.
I remember there was a time recently, I think 2 months ago, in Delta State, where we saw a woman hanging herself at the popular, is it Ejeba Bridge thereabouts, because she complained that she got tired of the whole situation of things happening in the country, being a single mother, trying to navigate life all on her own, and she had to take her own life. And it's really sad. That is why I feel we need to have conversations like this for you to know that you are not in this world alone. And in as much as you're alive, there is hope. And of course, tough times never last, but indeed tough people do. There's a lot of things to talk about, but I would love to ask you, do you think social media plays a role in affecting one's mental health?
Yes.
What role does it play?
Now, we will look at this in a 2-way. The social media actually help in enhancing good mental health, and for some other people, it causes a lot of havoc to them. So, in fact, it's a 2-way, like a 2 sides to a coin, and that is why we must learn to be, mature in handling content, social media content. You must be selective. In fact, that is one of a sign that you have a good mental health state, being able to select from the midst of a lot. Now, because the social media paints a picture that sometimes is not real, and many people they feel pressurized. Maybe someone is a display of affluence and wealth that's not actually real. There are a lot of cover-up going on in the social media. Okay? So you must be able to ensure that you consume healthy content. What are the healthy content? All right. So you must be able to ensure that what you view, what you check, there are things that will enhance state of mind that is okay. Bad news, a lot of things, even on them, unconfirmed news are flying here and there. So you must be, because so many people can break down so easily. They are already susceptible. But the issue of social media cannot trigger them and the breakdown. So you must be able to select healthy social media content. And the other side of it is the fact that on the social media you can actually laugh a lot. You can go on your TikTok and and it's relieving. It's really relieving for you, because when you smile, there was a study that says when you smile, you exercise the muscles, the facial muscles, and you will not grow old so easily. Yeah. Okay. So the mind is also lifted. Your bodies are lifted. So ensure you consume content that are healthy to your mental health. Okay. You are a Christian. Check on pages that can enhance that. You are a Muslim. You hear all those things because your religion has a lot to play as regard your mental health.
Let's talk about the government action and the role they also have to play in all of this. Because when the Jigawa situation happened, the federal government came out to say, oh, the National Orientation Agency, what have you been doing about it? How about you start sensitizing the people more to know that you're not supposed to do this and do that? So what role does the government have to play in this?
Yes, the government has a lot to do, and the key point that we cannot do for ourselves and that the government must do for us all together is the issue of policy. Correct, right policy and enforcement. Because, they can roll out policies, as regard mental health. They can roll out policies as regard, safety, workplace safety, roll out, policies as regard those situations. Like we had in Jigawa, okay, I say, okay, this is the policy. But not only that, they must also stand to ensure they are they are enforced. Okay, so we will actually, let's use this opportunity to again and again advocate and talk to everyone in government, parastatal, to ensure that there is a right policy made for every worker. See, 60% of the world is in labor, according to High Hello. So you can't discard the workforce. We are key. Okay, so there must be a standing policy for the mental health of every worker. They must be able to assess, if possible, free. They should make mental health, mental health services free for people and accessible for everyone. You should have access to psychologists and to be able to check on your mental state at every now and then. And the issue of enforcement is also key.
Okay. So as we tend to wind up the conversation, I would love you to share some tips on how one can ensure that you love yourself the right way, you're focused on self-love, self-care, and everything selfless.
All right. Okay. So let's give it a wrap and do what we call an holistic approach. So what are the holistic approach to a good mental health? So it all starts from you, start from me, you and I. Okay, so you have to ensure that you know yourself. So when you know yourself, two things: you must know your weaknesses, right. You must develop your strengths. You must know your strength. Okay. So you should use your strength to work on your weaknesses. Okay, we really have to go now, but I really must thank you, Paul Ige, a registered nurse, for taking our time to come to the studio today to share more on mental health. Hopefully, we have another time to deliberate more on this. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and thanks to everyone. Absolutely. Now, as we get to wrap things up right here in our Lagos studio, remember that life is 99% of what happens to you and 1% of how you react to it. So it's 1% of what happens to you and 99% of how you respond to it. My name is Anuluwakpo Stephen.